All right, welcome everybody. Once again, I'm Laura Rubinstein, social media marketing and relationship marketing consultant. You may be wondering, why am I doing a topic here, dealing with difficult people and transform your dysfunctional relationship patterns? I've got Dr. Rhoberta Shaler here. Hey, Rhoberta, and otherwise known as the Relationship Help Doctor at forrelationshiphelp.com, and that's FOR, right? For Relationship Help. Awesome.
Yes.
So, well, we all deal with difficult people, and perhaps that's why you all are tuning in, right? Well, I know you've been dealing with it. How long have you been dealing with helping people deal with difficult people?
About 30 years.
Only.
And I'm still standing.
Woohoo! Yes, I'm going to give you some props for that. Yay! There we go. So you obviously have something to offer. This is what you do for work, and I know you've had amazing insights, wisdom, and you know what I know about Rhoberta, everyone, and Rhoberta, what I know about you is that your perspective on dealing with people is very unique. It's not your typical what's your those celebrity psychologists might say. For example, would you say you have kind of advanced information comparatively?
I would say so. Yes. But when you have a specialty and you really focus on it, you do get much more advanced information.
Absolutely. So, you know, your latest information that you shared with me recently was about what? What's happening?
Nothing. It's my latest information that
Yeah.
came through.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've been friends for so many years and we've masterminded and done all this. It's always like there's new revelations or new things I'm learning that you already knew, but I haven't known that you've known. So,
Yeah.
and you think of innovative ways to bring it out. And last time we talked, you talked about something called the Hi Jackal Trap, right? So, what is that?
Okay, well, let me just say that my work is with difficult people, and I make a distinction between difficult people who are people who every now and again do something that makes them difficult. They're having a bad day, they're going through a bad time, they perhaps don't have good communication skills, something just isn't right. And we're someone's idea of a difficult person too, some days.
We have our days, yes.
We have our days.
Do we
But on the
all?
other yeah. So on the other hand, though, there are some people who everybody finds difficult and everybody has difficulty with. And I've been working in that area for a long time because I work with the partners of difficult people, whether they're trying to revive a relationship, restore a relationship, or wonder if they should be leaving a relationship. So I was looking for a way to talk about this. I don't like labels. I think that psychological labels should only be used by psychologists and psychiatrists. I don't think it's helpful to label people. So I was looking for a way to talk about these behaviors. And what I came up with after quite a while of waiting for that to show up was the Hi Jackal Trap. So I call these behavior groups Hi Jackal behaviors, and the Hi Jackal Trap is that place when you're dealing with somebody where you've made yourself into a pretzel, you've tried everything you think, and they're still not happy, and you can tell that they have no intention of ever letting you know that they would ever be satisfied or happy. There's always another hoop to jump. So these are the people that make you second guess yourself all the time, make yourself into a pretzel to try and make them happy, and then also cause you to question your sanity. And the Hi Jackal Trap is set because it's parameters in which the Hi Jackal is endeavoring to and feeds on, scavenges for power, status, and control. And a hijackal doesn't mean to be a hijackal. I want to put this in here right at the beginning, Laura. We have to have compassion for this because it's a way that they grew up. It's a way that they have developed as a mechanism to survive. They're not doing it on purpose to annoy us. They're not doing it to make us angry or whatever. They're doing it to survive, to get their deepest unmet needs met. So the hijackal trap is when we get into that place where we're constantly second guessing ourselves and questioning our sanity. And did I say that? Did I really ask him to do that? And he promised, and now I'm asking him and he tells me he never said that. Am I going crazy? These are examples of the Hi Jackal Trap.
Wow. I'm guessing a lot of people can relate to dealing with difficult people like that. And thank you for making the distinction that, we have to have compassion for them. And at the same time, we need to know how to deal with them. So, tell us a little bit more about what a hijackal is. And I know there's an
Sure.
animal called a hijackal. What is that?
There's an animal called a jackal.
Oh, a jackal.
But why I call them hijackals is because they hijack relationships all the time. They have to have it in their court. So they're constantly hijacking the interaction to make sure they win, or they have, or you don't, right? And it's a sad situation. I mean, you don't want to be one of those people because they're constantly desperate. They're constantly in fear. They're constantly in concern. And you can recognize a hijackal. A mild case of hijackal is the behavior that we call passive aggressive. And it can be quite a severe mild case of hijackal, but the kind of person that you think you can count on and can repeatedly find you can't count on them. You ask them a question, they avoid giving you a direct answer. They always make things your fault. It will always come back to being on you, never on them.
So they never take responsibility.
No, they never take responsibility because who do you think I am that I would agree to do what I did agree to do and do something for you? I'll give you an example. I have this in my ebook, which is called Stop That's Crazy Making, how to quit the passive aggressive game. You ask a passive aggressive person, will you go and pick up the laundry for me? I can't get it and I need it for tomorrow. Yeah, sure, I'll go get it. So you come back and you say, where did you put the laundry? I have better things to do than do errands for you,
And you're like, what?
Yeah, like, didn't we agree that you would do that? Oh, we're not having that conversation now. We're having the conversation about why would you ever think that your errands mattered to me?
Wow.
So that's the kind of behavior, and it goes from that to far more crazy making behavior, because it can go into places where not only is everything not their fault, but they get into things like all or nothing thinking, which means that in one moment you are the sunshine in their life, and the next moment, when you don't give them what you want, you are the scum of the earth. And there's no spot in between. It's just, you are the best thing since sliced bread, you are the scum of the earth. And in those two moments, they honestly believe what they just said.
And would it be accurate to say that when you're the light of their life, and then you go to the opposite, that you want to, the tendency for the person in relationship with that person is, how do I get back to being the light in their life, right? What can I do? How can I make them happy?
Right. Well, the first and foremost thing you need to know is they have no intention of ever being happy. Their intention is to survive. So they're not going for happiness. They're going for, I constantly need to be fed with some sense of power, status, and control. Because if I'm ever missing those things, I'm completely beyond my depth, so miserable. So they don't have that capacity, and they won't come to that place. So when you are interacting with somebody like this, then you have to understand that the distinction between difficult and chronically difficult is an entirely different strategy. Most times I'm inviting people to be their authentic selves in the best ways possible. But if you're in relationship with a high conflict person, a hijackal, then you have to be strategic, not just authentic. Because otherwise you cannot manage this behavior at all.
So backing up just a second, does a hijackal know they're doing this and they want all this power? No. That's all subconsciously.
Yeah.
Desires there for power.
Yes, it all comes from childhood, early teens and things like that. Things happen to them. Now, the very same things could happen to you, Laura, that happened to one of these people. It might not even you might not even notice. It will have no effect on you, has a disastrous effect on another person. So it's very individual. So these people don't know they're doing it. That's why we have to have some compassion. Just a little caveat. That's not condoning their behavior. I can have compassion for their behavior without condoning the behavior. So I have to learn to set boundaries differently. I have to learn to see the patterns and head them off at the pass if possible. I have to learn how to manage myself in the situation, because if I lose it, the whole thing is lost.
Mm.
And so it puts a great weight on the person who is the partner or the coworker of a person with hijackal behaviors.
No wonder you're doing this work. This is so important for us who are at the effect of somebody who doesn't even know they're a hijackal. Now we have some questions coming in, and I want to let you know, feel free to ask questions, and to even highlight them even better for us, do a /Q space and then your question, because then it'll highlight it as a question for us. /Q. And Liz is asking, is there a way for the hijackal person to come to understand that they're doing this, or to come to realize it?
Well, that's a matter of degree, Liz. A person who's sort of a full-blown, full-grown hijackal, they can't take any responsibility for it, and they can't be wrong. So it's very, very difficult for them to come to understand it. Now, many times you'll have people who have, say, passive-aggressive behaviors, and they can come to understand it, and they will work on that. And that's why I call it a lower-level kind of hijackal situation. But people who have very, very strong personality traits that fall into the hijackal category, they won't. I'll give you an example. Like I said, I work with the partners of hijackals, but often the hijackal come in. And why do they come in? They come in to tell me how terrible and wrong their partner is, right? And as soon as I ask a question about them, they're completely defensive and yelling, carrying on, being angry at me. Now, let me tell you that there are many, many therapists and counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists who won't even deal with these people. Their life's too short. But I want to help the partners and coworkers of these people, because there are many strategies you can do. But Liz, no, you can point it out to them in their best moments when they're maybe a little bit vulnerable or a little bit quiet or whatever. But it's highly unlikely that they're going to take ownership of it for very long. Wow. But it's always worth a try, because sometimes the cost of potentially losing a relationship is enough to create a window that they will come and work with me. And I work with people all over the world through the magic of the internet. So people do come and find me. And even if the partners are separated, of course, we can be on two computers still having a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense to try, right?
You're welcome.
Yeah, and she's saying thanks. And Christy has a question. So this is the perfect segue. How do we self-protect against hijackals?
Well, first of all, I want to help you develop radar. Because we don't naturally have it. You see, we're very trusting. If we haven't had any of this behavior in our life, we think, oh, well, if I just give a little more, if I nurture a little more, if I'm just not quite so demanding, if I back off a little bit, if I use different words, if I don't have that delivery and that tone of voice, everything's going to change. Because it would change with a non-hijackal. It won't change here. So when you're asking how do you self-protect, well, first of all, you have to be able to recognize a hijackal. And if you find yourself with a lot of red flags and a lot of reasons or excuses for why they're behaving that way, take a minute and stop and say, how many times have I made exception for this behavior? Is this something I'm constantly doing? Oh, they're tired, or they're going through a difficult time, or there's pressure at work, or their mother is dying, or whatever it is. All things that would sound logical, but when you add them up, they're almost a daily occurrence. There's always a reason. When that happens, then to self-protect, what you have to do is to be very clear about who you are. What are your boundaries? What are your values? How do you communicate? Do you need better communication skills to be clearer? Get them. If you need better conflict management skills, get them. But to self-protect, first of all, back down. Let me give you a little breathing technique. When you get into a situation where you get into that kind of arousal or anxiety, or you're starting to second guess yourself, breathe yourself down. Use this breathing. I write about it in my book, Kaizen for Couples. Very simple, old yogic breathing, but it works. And Andrew Weil likes to talk about it too. So all you do is you breathe in sharply through your nose for a count of 4. Hold it for a count of 7. Breathe out through your mouth for a count of 8, getting all the air out. Do that at least 3 times. It gets the oxygen back in your brain where you go, whoa, here comes the pattern again, rather than scurrying to how do I fix this or how do I appease this or whatever. And to self-protect, you need to be very clear about your feelings. So of course, I'm not going to give you all these techniques in one shot, but if you go to the Kaizen for Couples Smart Steps to Save, Sustain, and Strengthen Your Relationship, there are techniques in there that will help you communicate with any person you're close to, but they also will work very well when you're dealing with Hi Jackal behavior. I hope that helps.
Yeah, breathing, backing down. I love the point also about even when you're evaluating whether you're with a hijackal, getting clear on your boundaries. Can you speak a little bit more to why is that important and what does that mean?
Well, if you don't know your boundaries, you can't express them and maintain them. And many people are afraid to set boundaries with people because they're afraid people won't like it and they'll go away. Hijackals are counting on that. They are absolutely counting on the fact that you will be a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they look for people pleasers. So, in fact, they look for codependence, if we want to use a label that has any meaning for people, because then they think, I can ensnare you. I can get you in the dance. I can get you in the game. And it takes 2 people to have a difficult relationship. Nobody can do it alone, right? So if you don't understand how you can back off and protect yourself, or you can stand firm in your boundaries, then you will probably get into hijackal territory and they will pounce. So very, very important. If you don't understand that nobody can do passive aggressive alone, nobody can do hijackal alone. As long as they're alone, they're fine. But when you get into a relationship with them, you need a whole new set of skills and strategies.
Yeah, my initial reaction is when I see someone coming towards me that is not, is overstepping a boundary or does something, and I'm like, I can't believe they just did that, is to like run away. But I know sometimes we get into these relationships and you're either a partner with them in business or they're your boss. I had a boss once. Oh my gosh. This guy was running over everybody in the office. Yeah. And I was new to the team, so he didn't quite run me over. And I'm not exactly sure what I did, but I know that I would speak to him in such a way that would be like, oh, so you want me to do this? Well, if I do this, then this is not going to get done. Is that okay with you? And I make sure to like cover all my bases because then I can throw it back in his face that, no, you can't overstep this boundary. Why isn't this done? When we agreed, we had an agreement. Like I set that line there. I said, if you want me to do this, then you can't expect this from me. So what do you want? And I give him the power and control while saying, hey, there's only so much I can do, and you're not coming back to me. You kind of have to anticipate. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Well, yes, that's being clear about who you are and having the good communication and conflict management negotiation skills that you have to have. I just spoke this week at the California HR conference. And so I'm speaking to a room full of HR professionals. And one woman said, well, what do you do? What do people do to get rid of them? And I laughed, and so did the entire room, because I said, well, they usually get promoted out. Yeah. Because nobody wants to deal with them in the workplace. So a lateral move or two, and then eventually they'll find some small way to promote them. And then they get to places like you're speaking about. And entrepreneurs and politicians are two categories of people where we find a lot of hijackals because they know they don't play nicely with others at some level. So they definitely want that power, status, and control. So they take it by being an entrepreneur or trying to run something. I'm sure everybody on this call has some example of a hijackal that they didn't know the term, but they go, wow, there's a chronically difficult person that everybody has trouble with, everybody is a little bit afraid of, and everybody tries to stay away from, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, so you probably all could just put your hands up and say, yes, I know somebody, right? Because yeah, we all know somebody. And one of the reasons that I'm so very interested in this is my mother was one. And so I fortunately didn't get any remnants of that behavior and everything. I somehow I just saw it when I was small. But most people are not that lucky. And so that's how you kind of get it. You're either raised by one, you live with one, you've been accosted by one, you've been abused by one, something has happened. And this is the way you begin to understand there are patterns of behavior. And these people actually make you feel like your stomach dropped or your shoulders went up or you're on high alert or whatever. And you have to watch for those signals and signs, because that's a sign that, oh, I need a different set of strategies here. Not the ones I use every day with all the people I know and love and care about and respect. I need another level of strategy here that says I need to protect me and I need to keep the relationship in a boundaried way.
Yeah. So a couple of things here. First of all, we had a comment come on. Is this for all kinds of relationships? Yes, right? It's for the personal and professional, the intimate and the friends, the business,
Yeah,
the
everywhere.
bosses versus the subordinates can even be hijackals to their teammates and their supervisors. It's a personal trait. And again, like I said in the beginning, is you might be wondering, why am I the social media marketing consultant bringing to you someone who is dealing with people and relationships? Because marketing is all about relationships. We all have to deal with relationships in our life. I'm passionate, and quite frankly, all my work is about relationships. So, kudos to you, Rhoberta, for shining the light. So we had a question come in, and I want to answer it, and then I want to see what your official answer is, so to speak. But how can you know if you're one yourself? And I'm going to be saying, if you're asking that question, you're probably not one.
Yeah, that's a good answer, because you have to be self-reflective and self-aware to even ask such a question. And these people don't have the capacity for self-awareness, and they have no empathy. So without empathy, they don't know that they're hurting other people. So if you know that you feel sensitive when someone else is hurt, or your words don't land correctly, or you know that you've done something unfair, you're not one.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So
I just wanted to respond to Devotee 24. Yes, if it is your mom and she's 80 and it's very hard and all, yes. What you can do is be compassionate, love her, and expect nothing from her except who she is. Just let her be that. I managed to nurse my mother to her death and took care of her the whole time. And I just had to stay who I was, not who she wanted to make me out to be, or who she was, or how she wanted to handle the relationship. I just kept telling her I loved her. I took care of her. I demonstrated that I loved her, and I wasn't touched by her behavior. Yes, it hurt. Of course it hurt. You would like your mother to be able to tell you she loves you, but they won't tell you that, because then they'd be giving you some sense of control in their own minds. But you can be the loving person and show up as the person you most want to be, and don't worry about her anymore. Just love her.
Yeah, and let's respond to Jason, because he says some jackwagons, new term, love to be that way. I guess he disagrees that they're in pain or something. Or...
Well, I know, Jason, that it appears that they love to be this way, but they love to be this way because it's the only way they know they can survive. Mm-hmm. It's not like they're taking great delight in it. Even if you look at serial killers and all those people who are on the far, far extreme of this behavior, yes, they got some satisfaction out of the things that they did, but they still had a relationship with somebody. They were still endeavoring to have control over somebody. And so they seem to love the behaviors that they engaged in it, but it was because they fed their deep need to have control. So it's kind of a dichotomous thing, and I can see why you would say that, but there is a deep reason for it.
And all that satisfies them is what I think Jason's saying, that power grab. They have
Yeah.
no true happiness without that. They have kind of a fake form of.
No, they don't know who they are without it.
Right.
Like they're completely afraid that they're going to be lost in the world. Powerless, helpless, words like that are petrifying to them.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got to jump. They've got to take control. They've got to have that power over. And they have to have it about the breakfast cereal and the new car and what we're going to do with our 401k. It's not like the little things and the big things, there's a difference. It's everything.
Right.
Every little thing, right?
Otherwise, they have no sense of self.
No, they don't know. They get very fearful.
They're not the funnest people to be in relationship with, and sometimes we don't have a choice because we do love them. And, so given that, Rhoberta, what would you say, and what advice would you give to people? We love them. They're not the most funnest people. How can we make the best of this?
Well, there's a couple of things that I can say. First of all, let me say something about how they're the funnest and endearing and all of that. They are that in the beginning because they know how to have power and control. And when they're looking to get you to love them and everything, they are getting power and control. They know how to do that. That's their whole thing, right? Mm-hmm. So you might see it in the beginning as quirky or endearing or mysterious or, you make excuses for it and you say, oh, isn't that cute? She forgot. Or isn't that just different to have a guy who behaves that way? But when you start to see it as a pattern and when you start to hurt and you start to question whether you should be hurt, then you start to see that, well, this is really what's been going on all the time. There are always controls being placed on me. Yeah, right. Always.
Let's flip that switch. Let's do this. They're always managing. To me, it seems like an exhausting life for them. There's no peace in their life. There's just stress and worry, and they don't even know it. They're being run in the background by this fear. Fear is totally running them of like being out of control or not being able to.
Not being in control is what scares them.
Gotcha.
Because, and I work with a lot of people in my practice who are partners of these people, and many of them have chosen to leave these people. And maybe they left them and got a divorce. I think of one woman who got a divorce 11 years before she came to see me. Her husband had moved on, gotten married, bye-bye. He was still sending her 10 to 15 emails a day to endeavor to control her and the lives of the children. It's the gift that keeps on giving, So that's
or the nightmare that keeps getting repeated.
That's right, the recurring nightmare. Just when you think you're going to have a quiet day, no, there's the ding of the text messages and the emails again. And yes, it could be a narcissist, and yes, I don't like labels, Christy, you're right. It could, we have all of these things. I'm talking about personality traits, and if we do need to put them into categories, they're what's called cluster B personality disorders. Most people don't have full-blown disorders. That's why I had to coin a new phrase. They're not diagnosable. They have some of the general traits, and that's what we're talking about, whether they're narcissists or borderlines or psychopaths or avoidants or passive-aggressives or sociopaths, whatever they're moving towards. All those people have a certain number of traits in common. And those are the ones that just make the hair on the back of your neck stand up, and you don't know why. So you keep saying, oh, it must be me. I must be doing something. And it isn't you. I'm here to tell you it isn't you. And that's why I've just written an ebook that's going to press in a couple of weeks. And it's an excerpt from a book I have that's coming out at the end of November. And it's called the Hi Jackal Trap. Loving someone who shoves you away yet demands that you stay, because that's the Hi Jackal Trap. Exactly. Come closer, go away.
Mm-hmm.
I hate you, don't leave me.
Mm-hmm. So, just a little pause here. We had a question come in from Christy, and you answered it. And the way she highlighted her question was to put a /Q and a space, and then typed her question. So if you have a question, you want us to definitely see it, use that. That's your little Blab training for the day. And uh, let's talk about how people can, you've mentioned so many different resources that you have, from the passive aggressive checklist to your book, Kaizen for Couples. And where should they go? What website should they go if they want to find out about additional blabs, your podcast? You should know that Rhoberta is an amazing content producer. She gives. And if you love this, you'll want to stay connected on our list. So where do you want them to go?
Go to forrelationshiphelp.com, FOR relationshiphelp, HELP.com. That's a central place where you'll find my blog, you'll find my books, you'll find everything. Now, we're working on the website right now, so you may find yourself click a link and be taken off the website somewhere else. Don't worry. All those things are going to become congruent over the next month. I did write a book called Kaizen for Couples, Smart Steps to Save, Sustain, and Strengthen Your Relationship. That was my 10th book. The book, The Hi Jackal Trap, Loving Someone Who Shoves You Away Yet Demands That You Stay, will be out in November. But I'm constantly making videos, so go to the YouTube channel for Relationship Help. The blog comes out. You can sign up for my newsletter and podcasts. When you sign up for the newsletter, you automatically get the podcast. So there's a lot of ways to stay in touch with me.
Yeah, thanks, Christy. She put your website link in there, and yeah, so definitely figure out one of those ways to stay in touch with Dr. Rhoberta, because she just is rocking it and making a difference with people who are difficult. You know, when you're dealing with it, it's like, it's, you know, when you're empowered, when you know, I know people today, out of today, are now like aware. Now they'll see, oh my gosh, you're one of those people who just like control. And now I need to do your steps. Recognize the hijackal, you know, get aware, know your boundaries, and then breathe. Self-protect.
And there are many more steps.
Yeah,
you know, so when you go to my blog at forrelationshiphelp.com, you'll see there's a search button. Put in the words you're most interested in there. There are hundreds of blogs there. You'll get some great tips. And of course, you know, if you're really up against it and you need some help, you can work with me directly. But you'll see that too at forrelationshiphelp.com.
So we have a question from Jason. What's the best approach to get the attention of a hijackal to let them know of their behavior without being negative or condescending?
Oh, great question. Well, first of all, they're going to perceive it however they perceive it in order to have control. So you can stand on your head and spit wooden nickels, and they'll still say you're negative and condescending. But good for you for wanting to give it your best shot and put your best foot forward. So when I'm talking about the boundaries, I think the best thing to do, Jason, is to be able to say, you know, I feel this way right now. I think this way right now. I need this right now. I want this right now. And never, ever say the word you, okay? Talk about yourself. Don't talk about them. You know, I feel disrespected right now. I feel like what I have to say doesn't matter. And then fall silent. Give them the opportunity to take the power and say, oh, right? And never say the word you. Thank you.
I mean, tell me about your philosophy with that, the old psychology idea of, I feel this way when you do that.
Yeah, no.
Never do that.
That's old stuff. That's iMessaging. That's 1970. I used to teach that. No.
Do it.
And, you know, I know that you probably still have a trainer coming into your company that's telling you to send iMessages because they're so powerful. No. That's why I want you to read Kaizen for Couples, because what I've put is 25 years of working with couples in that book, and everything that works with your partner works with everybody else too. So an iMessage also puts the blame. When you do this, I feel this way. Now it's the other person's fault. Now that's a feeling that the other person gets, that it's their fault. Somehow they're to blame. How do you feel when you're blamed? and you get your back to the wall. Do you want to listen?
No.
No. No, you don't. So that's what I was saying to you, Jason. Speak about yourself. It's what I call in Kaizen for Couples. There's 2 chapters on it called the Personal Weather Report. And you can get that book at Amazon, digital or print. The Personal Weather Report. You breathe and you say to yourself, okay, what am I thinking right now? What am I feeling right now? What do I want right now? What do I need right now? You check in and have those answers, and then that's what you say to the person. You talk about you, and they don't have any empathy, but if they have a little shred or they're concerned that you're leaving and they won't have control over you, you'll have a window of opportunity to talk to them. That's the best you can do, to be non-negative and non-condescending.
Yeah, it's like I feel, I want, I need,
I think.
Yeah. That's it. There's no you. That's like a hard one, you know?
Yeah, well, Liz says that can lead them to saying you're selfish. They're going to say that anyway, because if you're not giving to them, you're selfish. So the fact that you have a need or a want or a feeling or whatever, they don't care. It's all about them.com. Right?
Oh, good URL.
Yeah.
Oh, great. It's amazing. Well, we've got people from Florida. We're in San Diego here. And, this is just magical, the Blab system for bringing people together with a common connection, cause, sharing information. Again, sharing information, Kaizen for Couples, forrelationshiphelp.com. Whoops, there you go. The book is here. Everything Rhoberta is Dr. Rhoberta Shaler is here. Oh, there's the book. Yay. It's a beautiful book. Yes.
It's a beautiful book.
Yes.
It's all color inside.
Yeah. And so thank you I know some of you have been here for the first time in Devotee 24. Thank you for being here. And maybe Jason's saying maybe the best way to express it without the you is simply to say how you feel and without adding the cause. Absolutely. It's, for me, when you said that, Rhoberta, like I feel, I think, I need, I want, it's about me taking responsibility for whatever I can take responsibility for, which is kind of modeling the way you'd like them to behave, although they'll never necessarily do that. But, I feel this way, hurt. I feel angry. I think I need to take a break. I want to, whatever. I want to go run out the door and, that's what I'm going to do.
Well, it's like I just put in the window there. It's being present to yourself and the other person right in the moment. Mm-hmm. I'm not ascribing blame. I'm not accusing. I am saying, here, I am being vulnerable and transparent. Here's what's going on with me right now. If they can handle it, great. If they can't handle it, at least you put your part into it. Don't expect them to be empathetic. They're not going to be. Don't expect them to be sympathetic. But you might just get a moment when they say, oh, really? And they might get interested. And that's what you're looking for. Just a little shred of interest in you as a human being, as opposed to someone to have power over or control.
Yeah. Nice. By the way, everybody, you can see who's online at the top here. And if you'd like to follow each other, just hover over each other and be sure to follow these people back so we can stay in touch. And I'm very curious, how did you all find out about this? Did you see a tweet out there, or did you get a notification from your Blab? How did you find out to get here? This is, by the way, for those of you who weren't here in the beginning, my very first initiated Blab. Just went to the genres, so you just accidentally found us. Great. Just browsing Blab. Okay, so people are on Blab just browsing. I love it. Well, thank you for being here. And we will, we may be back again. I will definitely be back doing other Blabs, and Rhoberta, you and I can talk about doing more Blabs again in the future.
And I'm going to start my own Blab channel. So in a week or two, when the book goes to print, I will be doing that too.
Awesome. So stay tuned for more Blabs from us. We're going to give you a big Blab. Bye-bye.
So long.